Hi, welcome to Workaday Hollywood. I'm Kevin R. Livingston,
And I'm David Adams Hood.
and today's edition, the election show.
Yeah.
So, Dave, give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, it's not good. Um, I'm not happy. I had to sit in a darkened room for a couple of days there, and I'm still
Really?
not really ready to go outside. I've been listening to old comedies, trying to avoid the news as I watch, you know, scam. It's just the scam continue, like part two.
Well, it seems like, out here, people seem to be walking around numb a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, MAGA people aren't, but, a lot of liberals are just, they're sort of walking around bewildered.
Yes. Because it makes it makes no sense. I mean, we ended the last Trump administration with empty store shelves, um, 500,000 extra people dying that didn't need to die. I mean, his whole campaign is a scam. The last one was a scam. This one's a scam. I mean, that's all he does is he scams people. That's his whole history in business is that. So every time it's with these MAGA people, it's Lucy in the football. You just watch it happen again. You're like, what? How did you not see it? The last time. Why are we going through this again? Why are we going to spend 4 years? I mean, the economy is so strong right now. The recovery was the fastest recovery that has. I mean, it took 12 years to recover from the Great Depression. It
So you're
you
saying
know,
Joe Biden did a good job, right?
of course he did. He
Well,
did a great job. If you remember, apparently people don't. 2020, it's down in my mind as not a good year,
right.
and that's the last year of the Trump administration. The last year of the last Republican administration was 2008, also a bad year. 1992 wasn't so good either. That was the end of Bush Senior and the savings and loan crisis.
Okay.
This guy's going
Now,
to run us in a ditch again.
well, the Democrats seem to be pointing fingers at each other. Now, let's examine the far left. Now, I don't think you're far left, are you?
I don't think there is a far left. I think the far left is a label that's been put on by the Republicans. The far left is just going back to, I don't know, Jimmy Carter. I mean, it's not radical. The so-called far left. It's just that's to me that's just marketing, more marketing to kind of try to divide Democrats on the right.
But they seem to be doing it.
Yeah, yeah, they make the Democrats fearful of introducing sensible policies that would solve problems. I mean, if the far left means we should have unions in this country, yes, we should have stronger unions.
But a lot of people don't belong to unions now, especially like gig workers and people in Walmart. Walmart doesn't have a union, right?
Right, because under Reagan we made unions far more difficult to form and get into. So we
Mhm.
just spent 40 years dismantling what unions there are and not allowing new unions to form. So
Right.
yeah, most people aren't in unions, but those who are getting paid better. And that's the problem. The problem is not we need to have inflation. Capitalism requires some inflation. If you don't have inflation, you have stagnation, and that's not good. That's worse than the programmed 2% inflation we're supposed to have.
Right.
I mean, we got
Now,
up to what 6, and then we're back down to 2 again.
mm,
It's very healthy.
no, I get it. But if it's so healthy, I don't understand why the Hispanic community put Trump over the top. And plus, he won every swing state. Now,
Right.
something has to be going on, right?
Yes. Misinformation and lies.
But the economy is strong. Why can't people see that? Seth Meyers
Be-
said the other day when the stimulus checks went out, you should have put your name on it. You think it
okay.
can be something that simple?
I mean, sure. And I do think that part of that there is a fear. I think with a vice president, when a vice president runs for president, first of all, nobody likes a vice president. Nobody loves a vice president. Nobody loved Al Gore. Nobody loved Joe Biden. Nobody loved Kamala Harris because they're not in charge and they're not setting policy. So they have to run on somebody else's policy. And she will and to some extent run against it. So she has to define herself as not being Joe Biden. No, she doesn't. She needs to define Joe Biden as being a great president. And she needed to reinforce that in a million different ways. And it's a hard slog. She had 100 days to do it. I thought
Well,
she
they're
did
saying
as good
that
a
that
campaign
in
as she could.
itself was bad. That she only
Yeah,
had 100 days,
yeah.
and then now people are saying she didn't have a snowball's chance in hell.
Well, I don't think that's true either. But I thought she did the best campaign she could under the circumstances. I mean, obviously, other choices could have been made. She wasn't good in a lot of the one-on-one situations. She wasn't that prepared for those because she hadn't been campaigning for 9 years like her opponent.
Right.
But then he just lies and lies and lies about the economy, about other people, complaining that they're calling him garbage when he's calling them demons and scum. I mean, Jesus, it's just the whole thing is disheartening.
So, how does education play a role in voting for president? Because obviously, if someone's going to call you a demon and scum, and you still vote for him, now come on, you can't control that.
No, he wasn't calling the Hispanics demons and scum. He was calling Democrats demons and scum.
Well, that used to be Hispanics, but okay,
Right, and that was the argument. It's a dumb argument, but
right.
it worked to some extent. Also, the kind of Joe Rogans of the world, the masculinity stuff like that. That's been this kind of bubbling campaign that's been going on under the surface. That Republicans are the party of real men, and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of sort of Republican YouTube and TikTok and podcasts and stuff like that that's been doing a lot of heavy lifting on Black and Hispanic voters.
What issues do you think? What platform should she have run on? Because it clearly didn't work what she was doing. Right.
Well, I think she should run on. So you're going to say it's the far left, but I don't think it is. It's that Bernie Sanders AOC kind of platform of we need to help workers. We need to help people who are working in this country afford things, and we need to do that first by raising wages. Everything else is not going to work. This lowering taxes doesn't work. It doesn't make things more affordable. It doesn't make houses more affordable. Taxes are not what is preventing people from affording things. Pay is what is preventing people from affording things. There is inflation in the system. There's already inflation. Pay needs to catch up with inflation. It's not an inflationary pressure because what's inflated is assets, housing, obviously, and some materials are inflated. But so we haven't had any wage growth in this country in like 50 years. And that's the problem. We are in a cycle that is a very long cycle of of suppressing wages in this country. And it's
All right. So how about this, right?
yeah,
Inflation is worldwide. So
yeah.
my thing is, if inflation is in every country, whether we do something about it or not, how's it going to change? Unless everybody else changes.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Is inflation is inflation. Inflation actually in this country is again has gotten down to 2%. The Jerome Powell, I think it was Jerome Powell. I think the
Yeah,
Fed
it's
chair
Fed.
is
Go ahead.
very successful. He has been very, very successful in giving us what's thought of as a soft landing on inflation. We've gone down from 6 to 2. The peak of all of this was 2 years ago, and that's also part of the problem. Is that the campaign on the other side has been to deny that the last 2 years have existed, to kind of say that groceries are the prices they were 2 years ago, and they're not. Things have come down. Inflation has come down. The problem with inflation is when it's happening. On the other side, again, I go back to wages is the solution. Inflation is just a part of capital markets. It's just if we're going to live in a world of capitalism, we need to adjust things like the minimum wage so that they're rising with inflation.
Right. But employers say if we pay more, then we're going to charge more. Right.
Yes, and that will marginally happen, but it's not going to. Again, if it's done gradually, and this happens. We do this. We have raised the minimum wage in the past, and it doesn't create a lot of inflation. It creates a little inflation because those wages are being distributed on, a number of hours and other things, other income that's coming in from say a restaurant and other costs. So your materials go up. That's just part of you have to raise prices because meat is more expensive, right? Well, people are more expensive too. Do you need to raise prices when people are more expensive, just like when meat is more expensive? That's just a cost of doing business. If your business model depends on people being impoverished, it's a bad business model. And so if you're saying that I can't raise wages or I'll go out of business, then okay, well, you should probably go out of business because that's not working for anybody. When Walmart has its employees on food assistance, that's a problem with their business model.
Yeah, but they're not going to change it because they're all making money, right?
Yeah, but they have to change it. They have to be forced to change it. You're right. They're not going to change it by themselves. They're not incentivized to. That's why we need a strong government that comes in and says, you know what? We can't have this. We can't have people starving and dying of preventable diseases because it doesn't fit your business model. That's a terrible place to live.
Right, but people on the right will say that's government overreach.
Yes, they will. They'll say that. But it's necessary. Sometimes there is necessary government overreach.
Well, I would think that it's necessary government overreach for the rents that people are paying now.
Yeah,
Just to survive.
Yeah, setting
Right?
rent control,
Yeah.
adjusting the rules that we have on rent control. In Los Angeles, I would say, when I was living there, that the places that had rent control were any building that was built before 1975. And newer buildings, like those big monstrosities that they build with 500 apartments in them,
Right.
don't have rent control in them at all. And those are the ones that need rent control. The mom and pop that owns the house next door and is renting out a duplex, they don't need rent control. They actually need more money. It's flipped. It should be these huge corporations you should have rent control. The smaller houses, what?
But that's the problem, isn't it? These big real estate corporations, isn't that the problem?
Yes, and
that's
but that's what I'm saying is it's not government overreach to come in and say, part of, I mean, we already have rules. Like, if you build one of those things, 500 units, so a small percentage of them are required to be low income rentals. They're also required to invest in a park nearby. We have rules. We just
Okay,
change. We
so
just
you
have,
got
you know.
500 apartments,
Mm-hmm.
and 25 of them are for lower income. Now, come on, man. That's nothing.
Right. It's maybe not enough. But what I'm saying is that so we looked at one of those apartments over near the Costco in Marina Del Rey, and we didn't wind up. We started to rent it, and we realized that I think we were going to pay $3,000 a month, and the lease said that the following year the rent would go up to $4,500. Now, I realized that was an axe hanging over my head I didn't want. That's insane.
Right.
That's just nuts.
Well, the fact that
And
they go up that much, yes.
yeah, and that's built in, and they can get away with it because again, there are no rules on them in terms of rent, what rent they're seeking. But again, in terms of a couple of units in that apartment building are low income, which is lovely for those people. But the larger problem with even with homelessness in Los Angeles is not the people who are out on the street so much as the people who are going to be out on the street. So if you have rules that more people, it's kind of like immigration. You have to deal with the people who are there, and you have to deal with you have to put up more barriers, but you have to do both. You can't do just barriers because you're not really solving the problem. You can't just do just deal with the people in the country because more people are going to be flooded in. So you need to do both things. Then the same thing with homelessness. We need to deal with the people who are already on the street, and we need to prevent more people from getting on the street. And that's the part that sometimes gets missed in the politics, is finding ways to make sure that people can stay in their homes long term, that communities can develop. And it's lovely to have people making money in business and all of that. But it's unsustainable to just be tossing people out on the street on the regular in Los Angeles, because that's why we have money to get people off the street. The problem is more people are becoming homeless than we're getting off the street. And
Right.
so they're just in the middle of this flood. They're not doing anything to prevent people from becoming homeless, people who are stable in their homes.
Hmm. Yeah, but that means job, right? And most people
Job?
here are like paycheck to paycheck. Most people.
Right. And
Not
that goes back to
everybody, but most.
wages. That goes back to wages. The wages need to be
Right.
higher. And there are two things that we do with that. One is raising the minimum wage, and that's an obvious one. The other one is, again, allowing people to form unions to negotiate with their employers for better wages and working conditions. Any business, I mean, I'm king. Any business that has more than 200 people doing the same job, they have to negotiate with those people for wages. If you've got 200 people being a line cook in McDonald's, then they need to have some kind of representation, because they have no power because they're so easily replaced.
Hmm. All right, let's shift gears for a minute.
Sure.
Trump says he wants to get rid of 12 million illegal immigrants. Now, how is he going to do that?
I don't know how he's going to do it. If I had to guess, I'd say that he's going to do a few, and realize that it's more complicated than anybody knew, and then he'll stop and he'll say he did a great job. It was the best phone call ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't think it's possible. I don't think it's logistically possible. If he does do it, then we're in a world of hurt because then he's creating private prisons who will at first be dealing with immigrants, and then once say we get rid of those immigrants, we figure out where to put them. We can't put people back to Venezuela, for instance. A lot of people have been coming to Venezuela, coming from Venezuela. We have no relationship with Venezuela. We are in a war with Venezuela. It's a financial war. It's a a soft war, but we are fighting Venezuela because of their oil, their privatized or nationalized oil program, oil fields. Because we want them to go private. We want Exxon and Chevron to buy up the oil fields in Venezuela.
Yeah, but what I understand is the Venezuelan president is cleaning up Venezuela as far vis-a-vis drug dealers and everything else. He's putting bad people in jail, or he's letting them come here, right?
Maybe. I'm sure he's saying he's doing that. I don't know. There's not a lot of transparency in Venezuela. So if he starts trying to get a lot of people out of the country, a large section of them are not going to have any place to go once they get put in camps. There is nowhere to deport them to. There are countries that aren't going to take them. A lot of countries are not going to take them. They're just going to be in camps. Let's say it works, though. Let's say we get rid of those 14 million people. We're going to have a privatized prison system that is designed to hold people. Well, now we have to find new people to put in those prisons because somebody's financial interests are involved, and they're going to push for, well, we got these people, but now let's put, people who are
all right, but I
coming
just
from
thought
shithole countries.
immigration is a big deal here, but how does Mexico allow these people to walk through Mexico to get here?
I think
at some point you got to stop them down there, right?
Well, they try not to. The thing is, you're allowed to pass a lot of borders if you're seeking asylum, and that's where because Mexico has a great economy right now. People aren't really coming from Mexico the way they used to.
They're walking through Mexico. They're not coming.
They're walking through Mexico. Right. Exactly what
you
said.
Through Mexico.
Yeah.
So then, why doesn't Mexico, stop their border, and then that means less will get up here? Because you figure these people go a couple thousand miles to get up here, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's been tried to remain in Mexico. This is what Kamala Harris was doing, was dealing with the Central American countries and trying to get them to hold things back, because that is very much a narrow border, right? I mean, going through Panama and all that. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that specifically. I just but I do know that if you're seeking asylum, there are international rules allowing people to seek asylum. Now, what they're doing is they're coming to our border. They're saying, I want asylum, and they're overwhelming the border with people wanting asylum. They're not sneaking over. They're not swimming over. That's not as much what's happening now. It's more people who have realized that if you present yourself based on our current laws, we have to take you. Now, there was an attempt earlier this year to pass a law that was pretty strict to increase the number to change a lot of those asylum rules, so it's easier to turn people away, to make it less inviting, create more judges who would be able to adjudicate these asylum claims and not have them sit in the country for 2 years waiting for a trial or whatever, however long. So there is but that has to be done by Congress. The president can't do that unilaterally. This is the democracy. The democracy exists in the Congress. That's where laws get passed. And so having the Congress kind of hold that up, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point. Judges. not going to look good going forward because now he's going to
No.
appoint even more judges who are
Yep.
conservative.
Yep.
So it's over in that regard, right?
Well, yeah. No, it's a long term disaster that we're looking at, and um, I mean, just putting people in, and it's not even the Supreme Court as much because everybody looks at the top line stuff, but it's really when you're filling out all these lower level judges in the different states, and they're um, lower court judges in different regions of the country, and he'll be filling those too with people who are
Well, the evangelicals, that's with who?
some. I don't know. I'm not 100% that the evangelicals are. I mean, they're definitely there. They're in his. And he knows they're part of his constituency, but he doesn't seem to be surrounding himself with them as much as he was in the last his last administration. So Mike Pence was an evangelical, and he was in the White House filling positions around with evangelicals. Now he seems to have tech bros around him, and they're more libertarian than evangelical. I think Peter Thiel is evangelical. I'm not sure. Obviously, Vance at least says he's evangelical
He's not.
now. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell with him what he is.
Well, with
But
some of
he
the stuff
seemed
he said, he can't be evangelical.
what?
You don't treat your fellow man the way he talks. He's an
Oh, sure.
idiot.
That version of Christianity, you do absolutely. I have cousins who are evangelical, and they'll post things about, and these are female cousins, about the order of a family is God, father, wife, children,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems to be where Vance is at least rhetorically, talking about the way he talks about women, the way he talks about how we need to have more children. That's a very Christian religious point of view.
Okay.
The thing about the Bible is that it is subjective. At the end of the day, it's not an objective piece of text. It is subject to your interpretation, and that's why you have so many sects with different interpretations of the same Bible, or sometimes they'll have different translations because this thing has been translation a million ways to Sunday. I mean, if essentially it's a text written in a dead language by a dead culture, and we're still treating it like it's relevant.
Yeah. Well, for some people, it
Or
is relevant. For a lot of
Well,
people, it's relevant.
right, because it's subjective, they can find something that means something to them, but on its own, it means nothing. It's words that have been translated and translated and translated and translated, used for good and bad, to create communities, to weaponize. I mean, it's been used over the thousands of years for these many
All right.
different
So you're saying
purposes.
it has 12 sequels. Okay.
No, I'm saying it's like it's like the Marvel universe.
All right.
Many people have written into it, and there's a canon, there's a general canon,
Mhm.
but there are sequels and there's lots of fan fiction. I mean, originally it was fan fiction. There's a central character. Both of them. The Old Testament has other roots in the Bronze Age, but the New Testament, you have this story of Jesus and a lot of different people writing their philosophical points of view around that central figure. And a lot of the books that were written about that central figure were banned around 400 AD. A lot of it
Right.
got. I mean, I don't know the specific dates, but at some point, 300-400 years after, because there had been books written in Greece and Rome and all over the Middle East about this central character. And then when the Catholic Church starts to consolidate and just put the books that are now considered the Bible in this, and the Bible is just a library of books.
Right.
So once they figured out which books were going to be in there, then they tried to get rid of all the ones that weren't that didn't count toward it, and then they rewrote a little bit at that point.
Okay. Now let's talk about the vote. And white women voted for Trump this time.
Some did, yeah.
I'm thinking a lot did.
Um,
Now, are they just listening to their husband? Is the husband telling them who to vote for?
I guess I don't know. I think again, I to me, the whole thing is a cult, and we're now in the cult. We've been co-opted into the cult by his
Minion's a
supporters.
good word.
What?
Minion is a good word.
I guess I mean it is helpful to look at how cults function. When you have a charismatic leader like that, and people are really being told to not use their rational judgment about him. To every time he would do something crazy, that's part of the deal. Is that every time he does something crazy, his supporters have to justify it in their minds. And there's this whole campaign to say, "Oh no, he didn't really mean that. He meant this other thing that's okay," and it's part of like indoctrination and getting people to invest more energy in supporting him. So he stands there and he forces people to listen to watch him sway to music for 45 minutes. That's very culty behavior. And the people who are in that room at first thinking, what is he doing? Is that what? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I guess we're doing this. And then, but all those things cumulatively are really bonding them to him.
All right.
And I think a lot of women are susceptible to that. I mean, there's a lot of, in this whole country, men and women. There's a lot of wish casting that goes on. There's a lot of trust your feelings, not the evidence. Stuff like that. There's something happening right in front of you, but you're supposed to. But my intuition says something else. So I mean, and that's not just women, but I think what's responsible for that is just cult behavior. They're women in cults.
All right. Moving on, where do you see the U.S. and Ukraine now?
Well, I think Ukraine is over. Well, right now, the line is that that Ukraine has to just accept that they're not going to get their ports back. The part that was
Crimea.
taken, Crimea, yeah. But I don't think Putin is going to go for that. I think he's just going to keep pushing. I mean, Trump is going to say. Trump already said, "Oh, as soon as I get, I'm president elect, I'll fix everything. It'll all be over." And they're already. Putin is like, no, either he's going to force the issue. He's going to force Trump to either continue investing on, giving weapons to Zelensky, or not. And I have a feeling Trump's going to cave on that, and Russia's just going to roll over the territory.
And the Middle East.
He doesn't care about it. Sorry.
And the Middle East.
Again, he doesn't care. Whoever the strongest ones survive, take over whatever they want. I just don't think he has any interest in defending anybody. Hey, this is what happened in Syria. We had these again my brain. He let the what was it that group of people that's between Turkey and and Iraq. We were supporting them for years and years and years, and Trump just let them just get killed.
Really?
Because he doesn't care. He doesn't care. It's somebody else's problem. It's some other country. He doesn't care. It's not foreign policy is not his thing. So,
well, clearly
it makes unless it makes him look good. If it embarrasses him, he'll just turn his back on it. He doesn't care.
Right.
Because he knows that most Americans don't care either.
That's interesting. Now, enough care about it.
Hmm?
I think enough care about it. It's just that they're powerless to do anything, right?
Yeah, no, but they won't vote on it. They don't care about it. They don't really. They're not. I mean, there are people who care, people who understand global politics. They understand that we're an empire, and unless we defend our spaces, we're going to become less of an empire.
Right.
The thing is, as soon as Putin takes over, I mean, it could be. I could be completely wrong. I'd be happy if I am. But as soon as Putin takes over,
Ukraine.
Thank you. As soon as Putin takes over Ukraine, he has access to a lot more oil and resources, and Russia becomes a superpower again. Right now, as Obama said, they're just a gas station with nuclear weapons. They don't have a lot of. They have gas, but they don't have a lot of other resources. And without Crimea, they lacked a warm water port, a stable year-round warm water port.
Now, I was talking to you last week,
Mhm.
and you had said to me, this time around, he doesn't have any guardrails. Now, where does Congress come in that?
Well, no, he doesn't
I
have
read
any
an article
guardrails.
that generals are getting together and they're discussing how they're going to deal with him.
Yeah, because they're quasi-independent. I mean, they're not allowed to make. He's the commander in chief, but they have they're a separate organization with its own rules about what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, and he can't override those rules because they're independent in that way, so far as I know. But I'm talking the guardrails he had were within the federal government. So he's promising to wipe out anybody who might be disloyal within the federal government and replace them with toadies, that kind of thing. So he doesn't have guardrails in that sense. And if he has, the Senate right now is going to go to him, so he's going to be able to appoint whoever he wants. They're not going to prevent anything as far as who he wants to bring in. So if he wants to make RFK Jr. the FDA chairman, nobody's going to stop him. If he wants to, I mean, he can put straight out racists in every department head. Nobody's going to stop him.
So he's actually going for unchecked power. Now, I read an article last week where it says that Akeem Jeffries is going to be the key to stopping any of this.
Yes, he is. Because again, that's where democracy is. Our democracy is in the Congress. Our government is in the Congress, the actual power of government. So if there's an opposition in the Congress, then yes, he'll have that. That will stop a lot of it. Now he'll have the federal government, so he can work. That is a limit. So he can't tell the government of California what to do directly. He can push some buttons and muscle them, but he can't reach into California and set policy. However, if Mike Johnson is the speaker again, if they win the House, then all bets are off. They can rewrite laws.
Right.
They have all three branches of government plus the the Supreme Court, then really all bets are off. There's no telling what is possible. All Trump wants to do, personally, I think, is win and not be embarrassed. He's just very ego driven, and so if they come to him with something and it sails through Congress and the Senate, he'll sign it, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care.
He won't even
doesn't seem to care.
No, I hear you. Now, lastly, who do the Democrats put forward now? We got 4 years. Well, I'm an independent, actually, but they have 4 years to move forward with someone to knock down or at least slow down MAGA.
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, we have 4 years, so somebody's going to emerge. There are going to be several people who emerge, and they'll rise up and they'll fall down, and it's just there's no telling at this point. I know that you're there and you have some opinions about Gavin Newsom. I like him, but I also went to high school with the man. He was in my graduating class at Redwood High School in 1985. I never met him.
Well, nobody cares, but okay.
He's on the. I know, but you're like, what is my opinion? The guy that was in my high school. I'm just saying that I'm biased.
Did he have
nobody
the
cares.
slick hair?
You asked my opinion. What?
But did he have the slick hair then?
I have no idea. I said I didn't know him. There were like 1,000 kids in my graduating class. So he wasn't part of my drama department.
So you're hanging a hat on somebody you never met, even though you went to school every day with this guy.
Well, he's from my area. It's sort of like, if there was somebody from Connecticut that you went and had pizza with, or, was just in your, I don't know, was on the team or something of your high school, you'd be like, well, I'm a little biased because this guy was in my high school. Really. And it's just something about being from where you're from.
I hear you. All right, man. It was good seeing you. I'm glad we got your notes and thoughts.
Couple of thoughts.
We needed to do this today. I mean, I feel better now. Right? I'm serious. Right? Listen, you know what? I hear these celebrities say, oh, well, I'm moving here, I'm moving there. Well, then go the fuck on. I'm not. I'm American. I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. That's good. Of course, you're just you. Exactly. I've considered it. I've considered Canada to protect my children.
Get a pistol and a rifle. You'll be good.
No, that won't help anybody. Guns don't help people.
Kidding. Jesus.
We can talk about guns the next time. You want to talk about guns? Yeah, death penalty, shit like that.
Yeah, one day.
All right.
I have been Kevin R. Livingston.
I think you still are. I'm David Adams Hood, and this has been a little different version of Workaday Hollywood. Thanks for joining us. Do all the like stuff and the sharing stuff and the joining stuff and the following along stuff. Have a good week.